Morning, campers. Today we're going to look at installing the new XXX trigger in this Beretta Squalo. They did such a good job with this gun. Like, the colors are great, the grip is great. Love the single action, but what I don't love is all of that. And all of that. And I have big hands, and so I want the trigger to be further forward when it breaks. So you'll see what I mean here in a minute. So, mag out, slide off. We only need a couple of tools. We need either a screwdriver or, in this case, a hex key, because they are little hex screws that hold the grip in. And then this excellent wrench Stieg punch set. We're going to use that one and that one. So pretty simple job. So obviously, unload, show clear, take off the slide. Now you only need to take off the right side grips for this. You don't need to take them both off. Pop that guy off. And take out the trigger bar spring right there. Just falls out. Put that guy, can we see it? Right. That guy aside. And then to take the trigger out, you remove the slide stop by tilting it up, pulling it out, and then the spring here you can leave captured. And then when you take the trigger bar or the trigger spring out, put your thumb over the top here so that when you pop this through, the trigger spring does not go flying, right? So you push through on the trigger pin, and then you can see the trigger return spring comes out. And now you can take the trigger bar out. And on stock triggers, it can be a little tight. And then the trigger itself slides out the top. Okay, so the gun is partially disassembled. If we were going to do sear spring and hammer spring and all those other things, then we would take it completely apart. But for just the trigger, we don't need to do that. So we're going to take the XXX trigger, and on this side of it here, let's see if we can catch it. This hole right here is beveled just a little bit, because you saw how difficult it was to get this guy out. What this does is it allows it to angle in just a little bit, which means getting that in and out once it's in the gun is a lot easier. So, trigger in, trigger bar in, and it just slides right in. I like to put the trigger bar spring back in at this point because it keeps it from flopping around. If I can get that guy, okay. And then what you do is you feed this in just enough. Let's see if we can. So you feed it in just enough to where it's holding this side of the trigger. You won't be able to see it, but it's not pushing through to where the spring goes, okay? And then you just drop the spring right on top of there. And I take this 3mm punch and I push the spring down and in, maybe, to the point where I can push the trigger pin. So you can see it's captured back in there. But this punch kind of holds it in place and gives me enough of a flat surface to not have the spring wiggling all over the place. So now the spring is installed, the trigger is installed. Now we put the slide stop back in place by rotating the little leg so that it's captured on top. hold that guy, and this holds the trigger pin in because of this little dog leg on the spring. Can you see that dog leg maybe? And so you put that guy back in, rotate it up. Grips back on. Come on. There you go. Don't want to cross thread. That's bad news. All right. Slide back on. Oh. Careful. Careful. All right, now the difference is there's not all of that movement. There's a little bit, but now that we're cocked, we've got just a couple of millimeters with a crisp near vertical break and a reset of just a couple mils. So greatly reduces takeout and over travel and gives you effectively a 90-degree break off that hinge. Huge improvement.